Hello, everyone. It is the Capricorn full moon. Full moons are always a point of tension, a moment of tension, a pivot between the ebbing and the flowing of the tide, a moment of slack tide before the receding. And in that way, I feel like it's always the full moons that really call forth the aspect of the moon that rules memory. Because there is this moment of remember the other side of the axis. In a new moon, we get the full potency of whatever the sign is. And at a full moon, we get the full tension of the axis. The axis, in this case, and today, between Cancer and Capricorn, which is always the tension between softness and harshness, between maturity and tenderness, between the whimsy and the easy flow of child emotions and the calm, mature calculation of the leaders and the father archetype. So the Capricorn full moon reminds us of those kind of harsh Saturnian truths, even when we're at the peak of the light and the growth and the fertility and the fecundity of Cancer. It's remembering the inevitability of winter for a moment, and in a full moon fashion that increases the power of both polarities. So some of our response to that is to double down in Cancer, to understand the sign of Cancer and the meanings of Cancer in the context of Capricorn. Childhood is more precious because it is temporary. Ultimately, that's true for everything. But there can also be the Saturnian weight. And so through the system of rulership, the Capricorn full moon also calls for a check-in with Saturn, who has been in Aries for a month and a half and will station retrograde next week. And so at a station point, we kind of feel the weight, and the tension between Capricorn and Aries is the tension of when is the right moment to do something and where is the right place to take action. And so the Capricorn full moon asks us to actually step outside the moment, and not in an Aquarian impersonal way, but in a Capricornian way. It asks the question, how do we stay in control of this? Which is always the question, how do I stay safe? Which is always the question, how do I manage the inherent insecurity of vulnerability? Saturn has a very narrow road to walk down in Aries, the sign of its fall. Because while Saturn moves slowly to build things slowly that last, Aries is in the moment, in the impulse, in the action before the full thinking through. And they have a tendency either to take each other out at the knees, or Saturn to push so quickly into burnout, or to use doubt to sabotage the impulse and the genius of the moment. And so we have a Capricornian full moon where we look at the big structure of things. And we have the ruler of that new moon on the complicated threshold of the impulse to take action. The choice then becomes, what is the right action? What is asking to be done right now? And maybe the opportunity here is the privilege to sit in that tension and to honor it as one of the experiences of being in the world, of being in time, in the Saturnian realm of time and limitation, in this very fraught and complicated time. It doesn't really make very many other aspects. We kind of have a trine to Mars. It's coming off of a trine with Mars, right? Again, doubling down on this sense of action. And so too, maybe in a loose trine with the nodes. This is not an overly complicated full moon as much as a moment between the sweetness of the summer and the seriousness of time. The other interesting thing to me about this full moon is that we don't have Pluto in Capricorn anymore. And so Capricorn has lost some of its teeth, and we are understanding it as a more malleable and less monstrous place. For the first time in 16 years, we don't quite have the boogeyman hiding in Capricorn in the way that it has been, right? And so the opportunity in our individual charts is to look at the Capricornian space with real maturity, which is not from the perspective of Cancer staring up at the calm, controlled, controlling adults, but also understanding Capricorn as being deeply human and flawed, and not just flawed in impervious evil ways, but in compassion-filled human ways, and offering a space of belonging to the parts of us that have been isolated through their need to be parentified, to grow up before their time. The parts of us that have sacrificed their own Cancerian softness for the moment or as situations demanded. And maybe not to do anything, but to sit in the tension and to witness them, as all things in existence desire to be understood more than interpreted or interrogated or analyzed. This is a somber full moon, a sobering full moon, perhaps, brings our thoughts to serious matters more than the party moons happening around it. A good check-in for what it feels to be halfway through 2025. Hope you all are well.